So the New York Mets are hanging on to a small lead in the National League East, but they are in need of some reinforcements. And one player they've been linked to since last offseason is Cubs star third baseman Kris Bryant. So today in this video, I'm going to give you a Mets trade proposal to bring Kris Bryant to Queens to play for the New York Mets. What's up, you guys? I'm Tony Metro. Welcome to my channel. If you're new, I make videos all about Major League Baseball, including trade predictions and so much more. Be sure to subscribe and also turn on channel notifications so you know when I post a new video. So the Major League Baseball trade deadline is just 10 days away, and it sounds like it's going to be one of the busiest off seasons in recent years. In fact, I just made a video last week, 5 bold predictions for this year's trade deadline. You guys could check that out at the end of this video. And in that video, I have the Chicago Cubs having a full-blown fire sale, selling off on all their major pieces, including Kris Bryant to the New York Mets. Kris Bryant is a former Rookie of the Year, MVP, and 4-time All-Star, and was the heart and soul of the 2016 Cubs that went on to win the World Series. And it appeared that he would be a Cub for life. But over the last few years, the Cubs' relationship with Kris Bryant has deteriorated. First, Bryant began getting injured, which meant he wasn't on the field, and when he wasn't producing at the same level as when he first got his call to the majors. Then, just last year, the Cubs and Kris Bryant had a squabble over service time, meaning that the Cubs retained him for an extra year, preventing him from testing free agency. And it's been a tale of 2 seasons for Bryant this year. The first 2 months of the year, from April through May, Bryant had a .330 average, an on-base percentage over 400, and 12 home runs. But since June 1st, in 34 games, Bryant has a .178 average, an OPS of .572, and just 4 homers. So let's take a look at the Mets farm system. It's not the greatest in the league, but it is top-heavy with talent. Catcher Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, Ronnie Mauricio, Matthew Allen, and Pete Crow Armstrong are the Mets' top 5 prospects. But I can tell you right off the bat, none of those guys are going in any trade for a guy not named Fernando Tatis Jr., and I can promise you that he isn't going anywhere. So those 5 players are automatically off the board for me in a trade for Kris Bryant. So the first player going back in this trade is third base prospect Mark Vientos. Vientos ranks as the Mets' 8th overall prospect right now. They drafted him out of high school back in the 2017 draft in the 2nd round, and his stock has been rising steadily over the last few years. Vientos is 21 years old, stands at 6 foot 4 inches, and this year in 51 games at AA has a .346 on base percentage, a .598 slugging percentage, and 16 home runs. Power by far is the biggest tool that Vientos has, as evidenced by his exit velocities, and he's played some first base as well as a little bit of outfield, but it seems he'll concentrate more on third base, a position that he's shown he can handle, although he's not going to be a Gold Glover, it doesn't appear. Now, the problem for Vientos is that the Mets took third base prospect Brett Beatty in the 1st round in the 2019 draft, and it appears that the team is higher on him and more willing to trade Vientos than Beatty. In fact, Beatty was actually just promoted to AA, and they're trying to figure out how to get both of them to play and develop at the same time right now. Because of that, I think Vientos is more expendable, and I could see him being traded before Brett Beatty, who, like I mentioned, is one of the top 5 prospects in the Mets system. As for the Cubs, they'll be getting a 21-year-old prospect who is raking in AA and might be ready to debut in late 2022. The next player going in this trade is Mets pitching prospect Robert Dominguez. The Mets signed Dominguez out of Venezuela 2 years ago. He's currently 19 years old. He stands at 6 foot 5, and he throws absolute gas, sitting in the mid-90s and reaching as high as 99. Due to the pandemic last year, Dominguez didn't appear in any minor league games, but so far this year in rookie ball, he has a 3.18 ERA and a 1.24 whip. He throws a curveball that breaks more like a slider now, but ranks as a 55 on the scouting scale, which ranges from 20 to 80. He also has a changeup that has some good movement, and that ranks as a 45. The next thing that Dominguez needs to work on is his control, which is not too uncommon with young pitchers. Luckily, he'll have plenty of time to work on it because Dominguez probably won't debut until about 2024. Now, this is a long-term outlook. Dominguez is still many years away, but he has all the peripherals. He throws hard, 6 foot 5, and could be a reliever in a major league bullpen one day. And the last player going to the Cubs in this trade is... Actually, no, that's it. Look, Kris Bryant was a superstar player, but over the last few years, he hasn't been. He's been often injured, and when he does play, he's inconsistent, and that's the same case this year. Bryant had a great first 2 months of the season. He was on a torrid stretch, but the last 30 games have me concerned, especially for a rental who will only be here for the remainder of this season. So if the Cubs denied this trade offer, I'd make a counter, and this would be my final one, and it would be the Mets' 6th overall prospect, right-handed pitcher JT Ginn out of Mississippi State. The Mets just drafted him last year. He's coming off Tommy John surgery, but so far this year has really good minor league numbers. I can't do business with the Cubs if they're looking for more. Kris Bryant has not been the same player that he was in the beginning of his career. And with just 2 months before he's set to test free agency, I wouldn't sell the farm, and I wouldn't advise any other team to do that either. So what do you guys think? Is the trade that I propose fair for both sides, and would you be willing to trade third base prospect Mark Vientos for Kris Bryant? And what do you think is the Mets' biggest need? Is it a third baseman, or would you go for more rotation and bullpen help and add a lesser position player to shore things up? And be sure to stay tuned for my upcoming video later this week, one big trade for each of the MLB contenders.